When you are preparing and submitting your Form 12BB, it is extremely important that you give a good thought to it, because when you give your intention that you plan to claim certain deductions, and if you do not make good of those intentions at the end of the year, it can actually result in a pretty large tax liability for you as an employee. Let's run through this with the help of an example so that you know exactly what I mean. If you look at our example of Rocket Singh, he earns an annual income of 12 lakhs, of which he submitted his Form 12BB with his employer saying that he plans to claim deductions from his salary of 3,76,000, which consists of HRA of 3 lakhs, food allowance of 24,000, LT of 28,000 and telephone reimbursement of 24,000. So he plans to claim a deduction of all these components by utilizing the money for the respective purposes and submitting those proofs to his employer. He also gives his intention to claim a ATC deduction of 1.5 lakhs, invest in NPS the additional amount of 50,000, and an ATD deduction for health insurance of himself and his parents of 50,000. That gives him a total deduction of additional amount of 3 lakhs, resulting in a total deduction from his salary of 3,76,000 plus 3 lakhs, that is 6,76,000. So the net taxable income for him is only an amount of 5,24,000, resulting in a monthly tax outflow of just 1,500 rupees compared to the original amount of 15,000 that was computed, assuming his entire 12 lakh salary was taxable. Now, while this was the story that ran for the 9 months of the year, from the month of April till December, an amount of 1,500 was deducted from his taxes. In the month of January, when his employer asked him to submit all the deductions that were due, Rocket Singh realized that he was short on his deductions because he did not claim the LTA that he could have claimed. Neither did he make the investment in the National Pension Scheme, and the amount he spent for his health insurance was only an amount of 10,000 for his own health insurance, and he actually did not pay the premium for his parents that was paid by them directly. As a result of this, he actually landed up submitting proofs for amounts lower than what he claimed, and instead of resulting with a taxable income of 5,24,000, in the month of January, he realized that his total taxable income is now going to be 6,42,000 because he did not submit any documents for LTA and the NPS scheme, and he was short on his documentation for his health insurance premiums. Now, on the salary of 6,42,000, if he were to recompute the tax payable for the year, the tax goes up from 1,500 per month to an amount of 3,545 per month. That is, on a monthly basis, he would have actually had to pay a tax of 3,545, but since already 9 months of the year have passed, so the shortfall of taxes that he has, he will have to make good in the balance 3 months of the year. So based on the Form 12BB that he submitted, his tax liability for the year was an amount of INR 18,000. Based on the actual proofs that he could produce in the month of January, his tax liability for the year works out to an amount of 42,540. So his tax liability has gone up, and out of this 42,540, the only amount that has got deposited till now is an amount of 1,500 per month for 9 months, that is 13,500. So there is a shortfall of 29,040 rupees which he has to pay to the government. Now, since he has only 3 months left to pay this amount to the government, that is the month of January, February and March, his employer will deduct an amount of 29,040 divided by 3, that is an amount of 9,680 every month, and pay the balance amount to him as his salary. So you can see that in this case, well, Rocket Singh was enjoying a higher income in his account every month because the tax being deducted was only 1,500 each month. Because he did not stick to his declaration of Form 12BB at the beginning of the year, he could submit proofs which are lower than what he planned at the beginning of the year. He lands up with a higher amount of tax, and the tax is going to be made good in the balance 3 months of the year, resulting in a much higher tax liability of 9,680 every month. That is why it is extremely important that when you submit your Form 12BB, it is a very planned submission in terms of you plan out your expenses for the year, you plan out your spends for the year, you plan your taxes for the year, and ensure that you stick to the plan so that at the end of the year, you're not running around trying to submit proofs for investments you've not made or for expenses you've not incurred, resulting in a much higher tax liability for the last 2 to 3 months of the year.